It's been awesome to be here, Jeff. As usual, you do a great job, and being in Adelaide, what was it now, 3 months ago? That was really awesome. Didn't get to the Brisbane one, but definitely as AZZO, we're really keen to support this awesome initiative and just having so many discussions with so many industries. Yeah, it's inspiring. And again, I think everybody said that a few times, so I reiterate that. All right, so what I'll be briefly talking about is at AZZO, we're quite diverse. Our CEO, James DiLiberto, will be presenting a little bit more on some of our other aspects that we do as a company. But I'm going to focus on power quality, and there's a very good reason for that. So as the title is, Power Quality, Awareness and Action, the Unseen Risks of Unhealthy Power Quality on the Journey to Efficiency. It is one of those areas where when we talk about and it's a culture shift. I've said that to a few of you in our conversations, that when we talk about clean power, automatically we picture solar panels, BESSs, DERs, etc. Not necessarily wrong, but to me that's clean generation. Clean power is what is actually in the power itself, what is in the sine wave itself. Now, in the International Energy Agency document about net zero by 2050, it says in the foreword, and this is again going back to 2021, says reaching net zero by 2050 requires nothing short of a total transformation of the energy systems that underpin our economies. We are in a critical year at the start of a critical decade for these efforts. That was 2021. So we're already almost 4 years into that. And the key part is it requires nothing short of a total transformation of the energy systems. Where are we at? It's been 4 years. And a big part of this is, though, as I was saying before, is that total transformation means that we also need to be aware that our transformational mindset needs to be at that same point. We've probably seen this before, not necessarily that part on the side, but most of us have seen the beer foam analogy on the left-hand side there. But the reality is as we're looking to try and decarbonize and become more energy efficient, we're focusing on things like power factor, which isn't bad. The one on the left, the beer mug, that's the beer mug we'd all want to rather drink from because you can actually drink from it. That's talking about displacement power factor. So that does not take into account harmonics. Now, all the decarb journey, energy efficiency generates harmonics. It's a natural byproduct of nonlinear loads. It's what happens, it's what will continue to happen, it's not going anywhere. But what can we do about it? But as you can see quite clearly from here, if we actually more focus on the glass, which is the structure, it's your facility, it's your customer's facility, are we aware that that's what's happening on the right-hand side? We can still drink from it, you can still get the beer out of it, you can still have the foam that you're trying to fix, but meanwhile, the site is actually collapsing around you, but we're not necessarily seeing that. And the way I always think about it is no different than right now, you're listening. You don't have to turn your ears on, they're listening. You're smelling, you're probably tasting your coffee, whatever it is. Our senses are always going, but a lot of infrastructure, a lot of sites in this journey that we're all on are in a sensory deprivation chamber. There's very little visuality or understanding of what our sites are doing. So from an organic side of things, we as humans can't really make a proper decision without our senses all going. And yet, for some reason, when it comes to our infrastructure, we think it'll all just continue to run on. But that's without us actually looking closely. This on the right is a very real scenario that a lot of sites are experiencing right now. Oftentimes, if we have issues on a site, as in it could even be here, we will find that normally we'll say, oh, it's the utility's fault. They're obviously not providing us clean power. Not saying that's incorrect per se, but the reality is on average, 80% of power quality issues come from inside your facility. So at AZZO, that's why we have our EnergyX platform, which is a cloud-hosted system that allows for all these edge-level devices to come in, whether it's energy metering, power quality metering, active harmonic filtration, DERs, BESSs, inverters, et cetera, because we want to get out of that deprivation chamber and see as much as we can on the sites that we're working on, allowing for clear stability to understand where to go. Because the reality of where we are is that, and I've said this to a few of you, so forgive me, but if somebody just started to tapping on my arm consistently, A, it'd be annoying, and B, it'd be a little bit weird probably, But you're tapping on my arm, and over time, that gives me a hairline fracture over that day. I go home, I fly home tonight to Adelaide, playing soccer with my kids, I fall over, I break my arm. Now, in the electrical industry, we usually go, well, what happened then? Was it because I was playing soccer with my kids? I'm over 40, oh, maybe my bones are brittle now. Oh, you can't play soccer anymore, hang up the boots, you're done. Wrong, that wasn't the issue. It was actually rewind the old VHS tape and go backwards in time, and you actually go, it was that continual tapping. That's actually what led to it. I should be able to fall as much as I want and not actually break my arm. And that's where our systems are. We're oftentimes reactive rather than proactive. We're looking at the moment of the break rather than what led to it. And harmonics especially, which comes from VSDs, LED lights, nonlinear loads, you name it, generate harmonics. So in the path of decarb and energy efficiency, which is all very critical, we're forgetting about the consequences of that. And so there's definitely a way around that. So this is just a brief example. It's a bit blurry on the left-hand side, we'll have Patty's presenting on this a little bit this afternoon through Phil. But ultimately, there is a clear solution. For us, it really comes down to, as we said before, monitoring, measuring, putting in proper metering. Because oftentimes people say, oh, I have power quality meters or I have energy meters, and I ask them, well, what do you actually have? And they'll say, well, I can pick up voltage, current, power factor, energy. I'm like, that's not power quality, that's just energy metering. There's a very required aspect of putting in proper power quality metering, which is the one on the top left-hand side as an example. Active harmonic filtration and VSDs. VSDs, again, brilliant tech, but you do need to action the harmonics. It's a very important thing. And that's active harmonic filter on the top right. So the solution is actually not hard to do. It's just you need the good data to pick that up. That goes into our EnergyX platform. The bottom center image, it's maybe a bit hard to see, but this is a real image taken from actually just ANZ down the road, which is a site that we did a few years ago. We're still working with them, still monitoring their site, proactive. And you actually can sort of see the yellow sine wave. That's a real sine wave. That's their current sine wave. That is causing major breakdowns. It's causing overheating, energy bills through the roof, destabilization of the systems, generators not being able to run properly, power factor correction units, the capacitors. Capacitors gorge themselves on harmonics. They actually feed until they rupture, and then ultimately go, well, I'll replace the caps. Well, no, again, identify the symptom versus the problem. That is purely a symptom. It's the canary in the coal mine. We want to see and identify those symptoms. And if we do that, then the green sine wave, which is the result of the AccuSine active harmonic filter, we inject the 180-degree offset of the harmonic and provide the green sine wave. That's a real sine wave. It's not some AI-generated one where it's so smooth you wouldn't believe it. It's the real deal. And that is how the site is, and that's how a lot of the sites we've been working on has been. And again, Phil from Patty's will talk about that in a minute. Ultimately, identifying power quality in a proactive measure through proper metering. This is just a small list. The benefits are incredible. Oftentimes I get asked, what's the ROI? That's come up a few times in these presentations. When it comes to mitigating power quality issues, flicker, sag, swells, notches, harmonics, etc., especially harmonics, the net benefit is incredible. Usually I'm looking between 5 and 15% reduction in your energy usage from fixing the power quality issues. And then you add in things like BESSes and DERs and solar, et cetera, because those require a stable sine wave to run properly. But ultimately you have all these incredible benefits and a lot more. Reduced emissions, the middle one there, that's what we're all targeting. If we actually reduce our power quality issues, then the losses drop dramatically, and productivity, downtime, everything gets better, and ultimately is a lower operating cost. And again, as I said before, I briefly mentioned before, you do need good metering for that. It's really, really quite critical. And a lot of customers say, I don't have good meters, and that's where we say no problem. We have an example of over in our booth over there. We develop, manufacture, and send out from our office in Adelaide, EnergyX Portable meters, 4G connected. We have them in 17 countries around the world. So the learnings that we get, whether it's from Greece or Saudi Arabia or Canada or whatever, all the learnings that we get from these places all come back into us, where we can then benefit our local customers here and also customers around the world. So again, the future is green, it is sustainable. In it does require us to have that mental cultural shift of being aware of what's actually in our power that is affected by our loads. And if we do that, then yes, together we can certainly make the future sustainable. Thank you.